Khmer is the most faithful civ in Civilization 6. Okay, maybe Peter is a bit more faithful. What? No, not you, Peter, former bachelor and famed faithful in Season 2 of The Traitors. I'm talking about the Russian guy, who has half-priced holy sites and faith on tundra tiles. Regardless, Khmer can reliably get a lot of faith in almost any situation. This civ has some incredible bonuses, which give extra holy site adjacency for being on rivers, holy sites give food equal to the adjacency bonus, and cities with aqueducts give 1 faith per citizen in the city. Not to mention that their unique temple replacement gives extra culture for each citizen. Everything about this civ encourages you to make large, faithful cities. But could we convert all this extra faith and population into a very fast science victory? Let's see how we did. And, as always, we're playing without secret societies, heroes of legends, or monopolies. These game modes tend to speed up the game drastically, and I feel that they're a little bit unrealistic in my opinion. On turn 19, we found a relic. Already a great start. Although, we will sell it to the AI later since we're not interested in the tourism that the relic provides. Okay, Pantheon. On turn 27, we can finally found our Pantheon. We notice that River Goddess is available, but then we also notice that Religious Settlements is available as well. Well, both of these are probably good options. For Khmer, River Goddess is so incredibly strong, and so I end up going with that option. Those extra amenities and the extra housing really synergize well with the really high population cities that we're going to have in our empire. On turn 30, we have our next great bit of fortune. Our neighbor Brazil has sent an unescorted settler in front of our warrior. We can't possibly resist. There's that huge luck again. On that same turn, we'd later spot that Fez is in the game. This city-state is extremely valuable in the middle game of a faith build because converting cities allows you to essentially pillage science with your missionaries and prophets. This means that we can still open with holy sites and commercial hubs in our core cities and still have a reasonable tech progress through the middle game. For the early game. I mean, really throughout the game. So far, we've had a lot of luck in this game, but we still had to find a way to get our first Monumentality Golden Age. Luckily for the Lakes map, it's often easy to get a lot of extra era score by circumnavigating the globe. It's often possible to circumnavigate the globe in the first era. In this case though, we didn't even need to do that this age, because we were able to clear an additional camp and buy a boat from the barbarians, and that got us over the edge to over 25 era score. Okay, hold it. At the turn of the era, we got to choose our religion. There are probably a few good options, but I often find it really hard to pass up on work ethic. That extra production is just so useful. I also took the belief which gives a bit of extra passive science. The extra science is felt much more prominently in the early and middle game, as getting an additional 4 to 5 science per turn is actually quite a lot before turn 70 or so. A bit later, we realized that Fez was being contested by the AI. Even though we had placed our first governor as a Mani into that city-state, later on we'd have to come up with a radical solution to keep control of that city-state. It is simply that powerful. On turn 54, we placed down the Hanging Gardens. This was mostly built to secure some era score for the next age, as it's often hard to get that second golden age if you've already gotten the first one. But it's also really good because for Khmer, the extra growth is really nice. A bit later on, we placed down pyramids. This wonder is really good. Oftentimes you can't build it in the game because the AI really prioritizes it, but in certain situations where there's not a lot of desert on the map, you can actually build it yourself. You should always look to build it if you can. It's really strong. The extra builder charges really make a difference. On turn 60, Korea starts sending an unescorted settler our way. Yeah. I think I'm gonna take it. Better settle it fresh. You better settle it off fresh, because otherwise I'm stealing it. Don't know why they're not escorting settlers. Better settle it now. Dude, I'm so sorry, but... What do you actually want me to do? I mean, it's a free settler. It's a city I want to settle anyway. Just dumb. On turn 62, we switch into Classical Republic. This is really the only option that you should have as a final Tier 1 government, because the extra amenities and housing cannot be understated. And as you see, we needed to plug in a Goge because our aggressive actions do in fact have consequences.
We will produce some settlers.
We'll have to wait 10 turns before we can peace out with Korea, and you can see that they're sending a swordsman our way, so we end up buying a horseman to increase the combat strength of our city, protect it from being taken.
And we could seriously consider conquering Cahokia as well, to have an extra city. I mean, we seriously could. But they're also a decent civ, but I think they're already 6 envoys in, but never taking suzerainty over it. So we could seriously consider conquering Cahokia.
Obviously, with any religious build, you have to dip in to get scripture. It's such a good policy card that extra Holocite adjacency not only gives us faith, but production as well.
I think the plan is
even at this early stage, I'm starting to plan out where our Chop City will go.
to settle like a...
If you're not familiar, a Chop City is a city which is founded just to complete space race projects quickly. We can take advantage of Moksha's promotion, which allows us to buy districts with faith to purchase the spaceport and quickly chop out the projects, without having any per-turn production in the city. You could even purchase the districts with Moksha and then move Magnus into the city to give extra value to the chops. Although, that means you'd need to wait an additional 5 turns for Magnus to transfer over, and oftentimes it might not be worth it to wait that long. In the southern tundra, we end up finding a city which has about 13 full production chops, and I hope it will be enough to finish both the satellite and the moon landing project.
score. So that's one. Obviously, there might be a better one over here. There could be something over here, but they're all also woods chops. Is something to keep in mind. It's all woods, so all production chops, which is what you want. I'm hoping that that's enough. I'm hoping that's enough.
It's at this point that I'm noticing the extra culture that I'm getting from the Prasad, which is Khmer's unique holy site building replacement for the temple. This building gives additional culture for the population that you have in the city and is generally very strong. By turn 70, we're finally ready to produce our second round of settlers. Our capital is already at Pop 10 and has placed down at least 3 districts, and a wonder. So I'd say we're very, very on track.
Okay, now we're going to start the settling window in earnest. Get all these cities out.
It was at this point that I realized that I needed to get 4 promotions in Amani in order to make sure that I maintained control over Fez. I was going to need to come up with a new plan in order to make sure I got all the relevant governor titles that I needed to win the game.
Unless we just built the what's that called? Just to get governor promotions. Like we could, if we wanted to do that, we could, but we'd have to then later build Casa. Or we'd have to like forego, we'd have to like totally forego Pingala.
Which is surprisingly possible. That is a play. Because it's that good. I mean, it's actually that good to have Fez. Just go Amani right side. So, yeah, Amani total right side and get all the way down. So that she gives the extra envoys. We guarantee we have Fez. It's a real play. It should seriously be considered. And look at all these cities we can convert, including our own. It should seriously be considered. Because we have culture solved. We're going to get Colosseum, if we get Colosseum, and we have our unique building, which gives extra culture. So we don't need Pangala for culture. We've got, if we get Fez, that's way better science than you would get from Pangala. I mean, surely, right? I think it's a serious consideration. We'll just have to make sure we build Casa here at some point. Just to get the extra governor titles. Even though it's terrible otherwise, but to get the extra governor titles, frankly. I mean, it's a weird play, but I think it's the right play. On turn 74, we unlock apprenticeship. Notice that our science and culture are not super good right now. We have quite a few really good core cities,
and a decent amount of gold and faith coming in per turn, so we're still in a really good position. On turn 90, we unlock our Medieval Era Golden Age bonus, and I take a brief moment to consider Exodus of the Evangelists, but eventually I come to the correct decision and go for another round of Monumentality.
It cannot be the right move. It simply can't be. It can't be. No, it simply can't be. Let's get, awesome. And then finally, that should get us to Sue's Fez. Thank God.
Around turn 90, our religion starts getting contested even in our capital city, so we absolutely have to start building missionaries and apostles to, first of all, protect the religion in our own cities, and eventually use the Fez bonus to spread it to other cities. Our science per turn right now is actually not so good, only around about 50 per turn. We're going to need to use the Fez bonus in order to make up for the fact that our actual science per turn is actually quite low.
Brazil, you have, or sorry, not Brazil. You are, that's Eastern Orthodoxy. Okay, at least it's not Eastern Orthodoxy, but it's Shinto. Okay, what can I get for promotions? Extra spread. Let's get debater and debate these guys.
Moksha gives religious pressure to a... Later, we even use Moksha defensively so that we can protect the religion in our own cities, as he gives extra religious pressure spread from the city that he's placed in one of his early promotions. Obviously, we'll need Moksha at some point to get the faith buys. Kind of going no Pingala Gaming, which is weird, but it seems to be working just fine. On turn 99, we start to finally get some actual value out of Fez, getting 180 science by converting one of our own cities. Now this city has even better yields because the holy site has adjacency.
Go.
Tactics mean doing.
It's at this point that we start converting our empire and Korea en masse. We're hoping to use all this extra science to get to industrialization relatively quickly, and then eventually towards research labs quickly as well. We've been a little bit slow to build campuses and their buildings in our empire, but hopefully this strategy can help make up for that. At this point, we start to use all of the scientific city-states that we have found so far. We are officially in the science ramp, trying to get as much science as we can so that we can get to labs in time. On turn 110, we end up converting Korea's capital of Seoul to our religion, giving us a nice boost to science, and making us closer to industrialization. At this point, we'll probably convert the rest of Korea's cities, and then rely on actual science to get us the rest of the way.
The key words of violence.
At this point, we finally finish building Casa Contracción, and we're able to get the promotions for Moksha so that we can purchase districts with faith. Only at this point will we finally actually unlock Pingala on turn 113. Wow, that's really late to unlock Pingala. During the World Congress, we get access to plus 100% production towards campus buildings. That is by far the best Congress that you can get. I certainly can't say I wasn't lucky this game. By turn 128, we're about to unlock labs and we have 585 science per turn. we certainly don't need Fez at this point in the game to get us through our science tree. Also notice that we founded our Chop City already, even before Labs has been researched. Remember, that city needs to be founded absolutely before you can even build your spaceport, and preferably a few turns before that. It's turn 140 and we're about to chop out satellites, and pretty soon after that, the moon landing project. We want to make sure that we don't waste any production, so we'll get pretty close to finishing this project without finishing it, because we don't want our production to flow into nothing. Wait on that chop, so we don't overflow it into nothing. On turn 142, we try to chop out moon landing, but realize we just can't quite finish it in time. We're going to have to build some of it manually. We've got about 5 more turns of actual producing to get it done. This will still be faster than building it in a city. And notice our capital hasn't even built its first spaceport yet, so definitely still faster to build it in this Chop City. So as moon landing is finishing in our Chop City, we start to switch everything over onto campus research grants and working science in all of our cities. This is because the moon landing project gives you 10 times the amount of culture based on the number of science that you get per turn on the turn that moon landing finishes. Therefore, it's pretty smart to work as much science as you can the turn before moon landing finishes so that you can get a lot of culture to reach those endgame civics even faster. Or envoys.
Deal men, their rights.
On turn 147, we unlock our third government, and we choose democracy. That's because democracy gives us the New Deal policy, which in my opinion is one of the best policies in the game, as extra amenities can really make sure that you're ecstatic in all of your cities as you round out the game. On top of that, we're going to start building a second Chop City. This is not necessary in most games, but we have all this extra faith, so we might as well. We're going to be able to purchase that second spaceport in that city by the time we're building our last projects, and that way those last projects can get done really, really fast. If only we had a really good source of aluminum, which we actually don't this game.
There's so much plastic. It has been
On turn 151, we unlock the Globalization Civic. This gives a lot of extra science and allows you to have those really crazy science numbers that you'll see at the end of the game. This came just in the nick of time, as we were probably starting to run out of our science overflow, as at 1,300 science, you're never going to research composites in one turn unless you have overflow. But now, we should be able to one turn every single tech in the game for the rest of the game.
must go down to this.
On turn 160, I came to the realization that I'm gonna have the worst tech tree that you can have in the game. How unfortunate. We played such a great game, but we're gonna get no help from luck in this regard, even though we got lucky the rest of the game. Dang it. Well, what are you gonna do?
A man of mechanical.
On turn 162, we unlock Synthetic Technocracy. This is a really great government, although it's not always necessary to get it. But in this game, since we don't have a lot of aluminum, we're going to definitely take advantage of that extra power in all of our cities, and that extra production towards spaceship projects. On turn 166, we unlock Smart Materials, and we'll build the corresponding spaceship project in our capital. Luckily, we have a few chops to help speed it along, and we can use filter charges in the spaceport to make it go really fast as well. It'll get done in one turn. Pretty cool.
My friends.
On turn 169, we unlock off-world missions, and we'll start to chop out as many projects as we can. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, we don't have aluminum in our empire, and so our chop city is not actually going to be that valuable, since if you ever run out of power in that city, the progress from the existing projects ends up stopping. So all these chops are going to be nice, but only if the city has enough power to support all of these projects. Nevertheless, still pretty good that we got the second chop city out, and it did definitely help us speed up our win. As I mentioned before, our chop city did end up running out of power, so we needed to build a lot of the renewable energy power in order to keep those projects up and going. This of course did slow us down a bit, but again, like I said, still pretty good overall. Finally, on turn 173, we finally win the game. This ties my personal record with the Victoria game I showed on the channel earlier. A totally different playstyle, but nonetheless very fun, and cool to see that I could win in a couple different types of styles.
We thrust forward into the unknown. The first pioneers set forth on an uneasy course. And yet once again did our people